Yeah, I'm making a video about Tupac, and there's a Nigerian artist by the name of Fela Kuti. And I've observed some things that are kind of similar between the two of them, and I thought about making this video for people that are out there that don't know about it. So, of course, we all know, Tupac was one of the greatest musicians in the hip hop world, but most people don't know about Fela Kuti. And one of the things that I'll be talking about is just both of their impacts and their backgrounds as well. So Tupac and Fela are some of the artists that make their music talking sometimes about some political aspects and criticizing the government, and they seem to be more bold than most people when it comes to criticizing the government. Fela, for example, he's from Nigeria, and he made a lot of music criticizing the country's government. Back then, they had military rule for the most part, and these are some really ruthless people that, when you criticize them, you are really risking your life. And Tupac did the same thing over here. He exposed some truths in his music and will call politicians by name. He doesn't care. And what you find is a lot of artists since then and before, they always shy away from doing that. They don't really want to mention any names, and I don't know if they're scared or to just want to go that route. So that's one of the things that kind of is similar between them. The other thing is they both have a large following around the world. Like a lot of musicians in the US, especially in hip hop, a lot of times, maybe you can be popular in some English speaking countries. Most of them don't really have reach when it comes to countries that don't speak English, especially poorer countries. Tupac is one of those people that no matter where you go in the world, people know about Tupac, and they listen to his music and identify with some of his struggles. Same thing with Fela Kuti. Even though his music is somewhat based on English, they call it a language Pidgin English. You go to so many places and they know of Fela Kuti, and they see his music as somewhat of a music of liberation and just talking about injustice in the world. The other thing is that Tupac is always talking about his mom, his mom being a Black Panther and everything, and someone that really fought the system. Fela's mom is somewhat similar too. She was the first woman in Nigeria to have a driver's license, for example, and she also helped to rally women to fight for voting rights over there. And she ended up actually getting killed by the government over there. They threw her out of a building, so she landed and died of her injuries eventually. So this is someone that is really revered in Nigeria as one of the leading women that will attend conferences, trying to gain independence for Nigeria and everything like that. So, similar to the way Tupac's mom was. The other thing is that if you look at like some of the zodiacs, some of the most important musicians and artists tend to have some type of zodiac signs called air signs. And those air signs, there's three of them. There's the Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Tupac is a Gemini. Fela Kuti is Libra. And a lot of these air signs, people tend to be intellectuals and somewhat good with hearts. Another similarity is that they both have sometimes struggles with the judicial systems. Like Fela Kuti, for example, was jailed for like arrested about 200 times during his lifetime, and he ended up actually serving most of a 5-year sentence. And at another point, a lot of these times they just like give him trumped up charges, any excuse to come to his house and arrest him, put him in prison so that he won't be able to continue making music against the government. And on one occasion, they actually sent 1,000 soldiers to burn down his house and destroy his property and everything. And Tupac, as we all know, he also served time on what some people believe are trumped up charges, where in his own case, he had a case, a rape case, where he and 2 other men were in a hotel room. The 2 other men allegedly raped a lady. Tupac was not accused of raping the lady, but he ended up getting sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. The 2 other men that actually raped the lady were given a separate trial, and they never served 1 day in jail. So that's something that you would say maybe these guys are just trying to put Tupac in prison no matter what. So that's another similarity. The other thing is that both of them are notorious for being ladies' men. Tupac, he had a lot of relationships with many celebrities, and girls all over were just, falling over themselves to get to him. Fela, on the other hand, he had, at his house, he welcomed men and women from everywhere. If you are homeless or something like that, if you were, if you want to be supported, he will let you come and stay. They share food, share money, and all kinds of stuff like that. And of course, a lot of these women were always attracted to him. At one point, some of these backup singers were having a lot of trouble in the society because they felt that Fela was living somewhat of a bohemian lifestyle, and they didn't want to associate with the ladies because they were hanging around Fela Kuti. So he decided, as a result, he's just going to marry all of these women so that they will be free from all of the persecution and all that kind of stuff. And I think one of the other issues was that he was trying to get them to travel with him to go and do some performance overseas, and they were only able to give so many people visas unless they were married. So that's one reason also that he did that. So yeah, and women from all over the world sometimes will come and visit him also, and they just want to be associated with him. The other thing is, Tupac, he had, towards the end of his life, he had a group called the Outlaw Immortals, which, is a way of suggesting that some version of immortality is applicable to him and his group. Fela also, his last name, Kuti, literally means the one that refused to die. And then his original, like his last name was like Ransom Kuti initially, but he changed it because Ransom is like a British name. He now changed it and put like a Yoruba word as part of his last name instead of the English word. And the name he chose is Anikulapo. Anikulapo just means that I have death in my pocket. So both of them seem to, believe in defying death. And even though they are both dead now, you can see that their music lives on and their message is still present. So that, you can see that that's probably where they were going with the whole immortality thing. The other thing is, there's something about both of them and acronyms. So Tupac, for example, you know, he had a group called Thug Life, and the Thug Life is actually an acronym for the hate you give little infants F's everybody. And if you look at Fela Kuti, a lot of the time, in his own case, he makes a lot of songs, and the title of the songs will be made into an acronym. And I'll give you 2 examples. There's one of his songs called BBC, right? And the weird thing about that, of course, we all know there's a TV station called BBC. But in this case, the name of the song is Big Blind Country. And he was just talking about some of the problems that was going on in his country. The other one that I'll mention is BONN. BONN is the name of a city in Germany, for example. But the name of the song is Beast of No Nation. So you see where you can look at the names in different ways. One more that I'll mention is CBB. You know, the other one I said earlier is BBC. There's another one called CBB, which stands for Confusion Break Bones. And so he's always, there's a lot of his songs like that, that he's always using acronyms, just like Tupac would use an acronym to name his rap group and everything. And one more thing I'll mention is that, you know, Tupac, a lot of times in his appearances, photo shoots and stuff, will sometimes go topless, where he will not wear a shirt. Of course, he's got tattoos, and maybe sometimes he wants people to see his tattoos. Fela is also notorious for that. And a lot of times when he performs, he will not wear a shirt. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. And people, that time, it's not very common to see a Nigerian artist go on stage without wearing a shirt. So that's another thing. And one last thing is that Tupac, you know, he talks about, you know, smoking weed in his music. He actually made a song called I Till I Die. Fela, on the other hand, he doesn't sing about smoking weed, but he's notorious for smoking weed. In fact, some of his most iconic pictures will have him smoking a really big, how do you say, joint. So those are some of the things that I think folks need to know about Fela Kuti and Tupac Shakur. Thank you, guys.